Social media giant Meta is set to get rid of third-party fact-checkers, and the US Meta founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg said Meta will be replacing its third-party fact-checking program with community notes, similar to the model used by Elon Musk's social media platform X. Here's a report.
It's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram.
Meta is claiming that even expert fact-checkers have their own biases and that too much content was getting fact-checked.
But the fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system.
Meanwhile, Meta is also changing its content moderation policy. Zuckerberg announced the company will soon lift restrictions on a few topics that are part of mainstream discussion, such as immigration and gender, and will instead focus on illegal and high-severity violations like terrorism, child sexual exploitation, and drugs. First, let's understand what community notes are. Community Notes is a crowdsourced fact-checking program. Any willing user can sign up for Community Notes. Users can add notes to posts that may be missing context, misleading, or need more explanation. Once posted, other users can then vote whether the note is helpful or should be removed. If enough contributors from different points of view rate the note as helpful, it will be publicly shown on the post. Users can also include a link to relevant source material. So, how credible and effective are community notes? Well, that remains debatable. According to a 2024 paper published by the American Medical Association, posts featuring misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines had notes by users that said the information was accurate. Meanwhile, Meta's Community Notes announcement is attracting mixed reactions. While some are praising Meta's decision, others have expressed concerns regarding the effectiveness, safety, and credibility of Community Notes. There are fears regarding their effect on children and marginalized communities, and whether it might lead to a rise in cases of bullying, hate crime, and other serious offenses. Maria Ressa, the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize winner, has warned of some dangerous times ahead.
Extremely dangerous times ahead. You know, this is not a free speech issue. This is a safety issue. You know, imagine that every single safety measure, we used to call them guardrails, have just been taken off. That's what's going to happen in the United States.
In the past, Meta has been accused of not doing enough to stop online dangers targeted towards children from its platforms.
Keeping young people safe online has been a challenge since the internet began. And as criminals evolve their tactics, we have to evolve our defenses too.
While the tech giant gets ready to introduce the Notes feature in the US, the question is, who will be held responsible for a misleading community note? Is it the company, or does the responsibility lie with the users? For instance, Musk's X Community Notes policy clearly states that community notes do not reflect X's opinion, that its team cannot edit or change community notes. Posts with community notes will not be labeled, removed, or addressed by X unless they violate X's rules, terms of service, or privacy policy. With over 3 billion users across all Meta platforms, the changes raise questions of authenticity and reliability of community notes when it comes to combating fake news.
Adrian Mars is a tech journalist and broadcaster. He's now joining us live from London. Mr. Mars, thanks for joining us at this hour. Who, in your opinion, takes responsibility for the incorrect community checks, which often result in disinformation?
Hello, Eric. Well, it's community volunteers. That Meta, at least in the US, and as it exists on X, are ungoverned. So anybody can volunteer to be in the role of assessing posts and correcting whether they're true or false. But that is only to do with fact checking. It doesn't entirely cover all the harm done by sort of toxic, racist, homophobic, sexist posts that drive advertisers and a lot of users away from a platform. So fact checking is only one part of it, and they're going to ease up on a lot of the other sort of, as they put it, censorship, which is clearly a straightforward response to Trump, who is an existential threat to Meta. Trump has previously threatened to put Mark Zuckerberg in jail for the rest of his life after he accused him in his most recent book of sabotaging the 2020 election without evidence, as is not unusual. But since then, Mark has had lunch with him at Mar-a-Lago, or dinner, I'm not sure which, and donated, or Meta has donated, rather than him personally, $1 million, and is now getting rid of his liberal leadership. People like Democrat Sheryl Sandberg, who was chief operating officer, is being replaced by Dana White, who was CEO of Ultimate Fighting Championship, a very popular sport amongst MAGA supporters and a right winger. Nick Clegg has been demoted. So he's gone. It's essentially a desperate attempt to
talking about a desperate attempt,
not
Mr.
destroy
Adrian.
Trump.
Let's talk about that desperate attempt, because earlier X, owned by Musk, introduced the community notes. Now Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, like you mentioned there, followed suit. Do you think this shift is linked to pleasing the incoming US President Donald Trump?
It is undoubtedly. There is no hiding it. I mean, it's pretty blatant, and in fact, pretty well Mark Zuckerberg has almost said as much. So yes, he is facing. Meta could be with the fact that Trump will control the House and the Senate, could do a huge amount of damage to Meta. So yes, it's an attempt to avert and just stay alive, I think. Principles be hanged, but that is undoubtedly what's going on. Meta are in a much better position to survive this. X have lost a huge number of advertisers. They were servicing a huge amount of debt that was introduced by when they were bought by Musk, but Meta is in a much better state, makes a lot more money. This is US only rather than global, but nonetheless, it risks scaring away users and advertisers. So it's a dangerous thing, and certainly the response from most sort of NGOs who keep an eye on this thing has been extremely negative. And the claims that led to this by the far right, or at least MAGA, however you classify them, that Meta previously was left-wing biased, isn't really supported by the evidence. There's been more than one study that shows, if anything, it's been on the side of the right.
Mr. Adrian, I'm sorry to cut you short, but we are out of time. Thank you, Mr. Adrian Mars. Adrian Mars is a journalist and also a broadcaster. Thank you for talking to us and all your insights today.
Pleasure, Eric.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.